How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with the Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian, and it is Thursday here on the show. You know what that means? We've got a lot to talk about. We got AEW Dynamite last night, which opened with a 59-minute and 59-second match between MJF and Will Ospreay for the international title, which had a surprising finish to me. I can tell you that much. I'll tell you why later. But we'll tell you about that show as it leads to All In. And, of course, being Thursday, we got all of the other news. SmackDown tomorrow, Rampage tomorrow, Collision on Saturday, and really nothing else over the weekend. I actually am going to be going to a show this weekend in Eatonville. Filthy Tom Lawler is on the show. And Vinny and I and Big Wood are going to be going to this show. So I'll do a travel log for my Twitter subscribers if you want some pictures and video of that trip. But anyway, we'll talk about that and all of the news. Tonight is the Republican National Convention, and Hulk Hogan is going to be there, and he is going to speak. So we're going to tell you about that, as well as a bunch of news out of CMLL and AEW. We've got the NXT ratings from Tuesday night. We got an opponent for Julius Creed coming up at Bloodsport, and the lineup for the show thus far. And as always, a lot of notes from the AEW Dynamite show. Mike Sempervive is going to join us. And also, Lance Storm. So we got a lot to get into here today. And we'll kick it off after the break. Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Well, today we got Mike.
I'm here.
We don't have Lance yet.
Not quite yet.
But we're working on it. And you know what? If it don't work, worst case scenario, I'm just going to call him on the phone. Because he's got a lot he wants to talk about. Sure does.
Good.
Especially that Dynamite show. He watched it.
It's a pretty good show.
Yeah. He still says no audio. Well, now he's not connected, brother.
Live radio, everybody.
Yeah, why is it so hard? Yeah. I'll tell him now you're not connected. So anyway, did you hear Hulk Hogan speaking at the Republican National Convention tonight?
The Republican National Convention? Yes, I did hear that. I hope the Washington Post fact checker has got some extra help tonight. He is going to be, I would assume, working in overdrive. If it comes to how Hulk Hogan has been, he's wrestled, Brian. I don't know if you know this or not. He wrestled 455 times in 1 year because he kept going back
that's
and forth
ridiculous.
over the time zones.
Don't be preposterous. Why is this news as lasting? Well, because it's a wrestling show, and one of the most famous wrestlers of all time is, in fact, speaking at the Republican National Convention today. So that is, in fact, news.
And it is a wrestling show.
And it is a wrestling show. Lance, what's going on? You there?
I am here finally.
Finally it worked. These stupid computers.
And the nominee at the RNC is, in fact, a WWE Hall of Famer.
That's true, yeah. Although they don't mention that at all anymore. As soon as he got elected the first time, they stopped mentioning that altogether. They never mention it. It's top secret now. Although they don't pull anybody out of the Hall of Fame. It's like once you're in, it's like cement. You cannot be pulled out for any reason whatsoever. So anyway, we'll see what Hogan says tonight. We'll see if he comes out to Real American.
Oh yeah, he will.
We'll see.
Guaranteed.
What's the over-under on the brother count?
Hold on a second. You're guaranteeing he's coming out to Real American.
Yes, because why would you do it? I can't see him come out. What was his band? The Hulk Hogan Boot Band, and he had the WCW music? No way is it American made. He is coming out to Real American. They are going to license it from whoever has got the rights to do that type of licensing and pimp that thing out there. You hear it everywhere. Why would you not hear it tonight? I bet you Trump would want to have that as his theme music going throughout the entire... Now, I don't know if he'll be able to do that, but I guarantee you he would love to have that.
Well, I will make you a $5 bet he does not come out to Real American.
All right.
I'll make a $5 bet, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I've heard you're a bet welcher.
New York Post had a story, and they said that it was not immediately clear what Hogan would be speaking about. Huh. I think he'll be talking about Mania 3 and how he slammed Andre the Giant in front of...
No, he'll talk about Mania 5 because he won the belt in a Trump building.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
And
All right.
They brother a lot.
So, Lance, before we get going, you wanted to talk a little bit about the trademark situation, yes?
Oh, well, yeah, you had mentioned that WWE had trademarked Ethan Page's name despite him using it elsewhere. And, Dave was talking about how this was somehow new. I don't know when they started, but I know in 2004. And I believe the idea was the video game and the merchandising people realized that WWE didn't actually own the trademark on many of the names they were merchandising. And I got what I would consider a panic response from the office that they needed to trademark my name right away and emphasize that I would still contain ownership of it. And it's in my contract that I own Lance Storm. So much so that they actually FedExed the paperwork to Edge's wedding because I told them, it's like, I can't sign it. I'm not home. I'm in Tampa at Edge's wedding. And they FedExed it, I think, to Christian's house. And when I read it, I'm like, it was 2004. And I'm like, I'm not on the roster anymore. If you manage to market and merchandise Lance Storm for 3.5 years while I was in the company without trademarking, you don't need to trademark it now. Lance Storm doesn't exist. I'm a trainer. Leave me alone. And I believe they trademarked it anyway.
Well, did you get money for it?
Yeah.
Well, they haven't merchandised it since.
I see. Well,
but they were doing it back 20 years ago.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's like I mean, he'll get his name back when all is said and done. Unless he's there forever. I mean, who knows? So,
Hey, look, I get it. If you want to recreate yourself as some sort of character that you're going to work on with WWE, and I can understand it if WWE's got something like The Undertaker that they bestow upon you, that's great. But it just seems like in 2024, in many ways, we should be past that. Because there is only one other company in AEW, and there is value in someone else's persona and name. So to let them carry that, as long as it's not a 100% creation from the company itself and it's Ethan Page all ego, to me, you go ahead and do that, because what value would he have, in my opinion, and this is no offense to him, no slandering of his talent, but he's a deal because that's who he is. Ricky Starks, if he were to leave AEW, he would be Ricky Starks in WWE or NXT. That, to me, is value. To me, in this day and age, it's crazy not to do that.
Well, they could do what they've done in the past, like they did with Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. They brought him in initially, used Kerry Von Erich. They did it with Paul White, too. Used his real name for the value of whatever that amounted to, but over time dropped what they didn't own and just built the Texas Tornado and the Giant because they didn't want to build equity in something they didn't own.
And Mr. Perfect, I guess, too, as well, even though that gimmick was, it was a great one, but he was Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, and then that did disappear.
it's just interesting because nowadays, they bring in, like Julia's coming in as Julia. They talked about her on NXT by that name. And Stephanie Vacaire's coming in as Stephanie Vacaire. They talked about her on NXT. And, Gable Steveson, he was in as Gable Steveson. But then you've got other, Olympians that are coming in with fake names to this day still. So I don't know what, everyone's... It's like
it's not like they
it's a case-by-case basis.
They have
I
changed
think
names, too.
With people like Julia and Stephanie Vacaire, it's like there was a bidding war for these people. So it would be in their best interest to tell WWE, it's like, well, AEW will allow me to keep my name and build that. That's a big plus. Will you match it? And if you have the leverage to do it, you'd be crazy not to. It's like, keep your name, build your name so that you have that leverage. And if you're just, Joe Schmo looking for a developmental deal, you don't have that leverage.
And granted, this was under Vince, but they did change Io Shirai's name. She was Shirai in NXT, was she not, before she became Io Sky when she got called?
Well, it was weird because a lot of people would debut in NXT, and on their very first day, they would be announced by whatever their name was, Io Shirai. But then as they made their entrance, a new name would appear on the screen, and that would be their name from that point forward.
Well, that's what happened with Kenta, right?
A lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It's like, we got Io Shirai. Here's Io Shirai. And then as she came, it was like Saray, when she went through that magic portal, her name magically changed, and they never used the old name again. All right, we're not going to talk about the... I'm going to talk about Dynamite yet. We'll do that after the break, because I know Lance has got a lot to say. But NXT on Tuesday should mention 610,000 and a .20. And again, this was head-to-head with the MLB All-Star Game. And I even know, people in WWE, they were like, whatever Monday and Tuesday do, it doesn't matter. It's the, MLB All-Star Game is going to destroy them. But actually, it didn't. Raw was down a little bit, and NXT was down a little bit. But realistically, they both held up really well going up against the... Actually, I think it was a home run derby on Monday and the All-Star Game on Tuesday. But, I mean, they both did fine. They were down a little bit, but it was no, disaster or anything.
When it comes to baseball and hockey, if your product is good, the postseason will affect it. And things like this will affect it, but not as bad as you think. If you're good, your fans usually stay with you.
All right, back in a moment with more Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. And Lance, you watched that Dynamite show last night.
I did.
And it opened up with Will Ospreay and MJF for the international title. And going in, I thought, well, MJF's going to win this title. They're going to go to Wembley. They're going to rematch. Will Ospreay's going to beat MJF. Maybe even when Daniel Garcia returns and screws MJF. I don't know if that's going to happen there or not. And then you could do MJF and Daniel Garcia at All Out 2 weeks later. But anyway, the point is, I always watch the West Coast feed. And so nearly everything is always spoiled for me by the time I watch the show. But this time, what was spoiled for me was that they went an hour. And so I started watching this match. I'm watching the entire match thinking they're going to a 1 hour draw. And so I was astounded when, with 2 seconds left, MJF won the title. So they got me, even though I thought I knew what happened. But I thought this was an exceptional match. Lance, what did you think?
I thought it was really good, too, although I had to watch it in a couple of sittings because I have a life in the evening and dogs to attend to, so I can't sit still for a whole hour to get through a match. I thought it was really good. The exception that I took was listening to you and Dave this morning with your, they didn't wrestle like it was going to be a long match. And I'm like, well, MJF rolled out of the ring and started playing the crowd before it even started. It was reminiscent of when I broke in, where we would, challenge each other to see how long we could go before you tied up. But
but I mean, I will defend it in one way, and that is that if you watch any MJF match, he always does that at the beginning of the match, even if he's going 10 minutes. He's got the spot where,
the opener of Dynamite is usually hit action right away. And so I knew they were going long. And then again, not a criticism. It's like they went longer than I would have been able to suck it up and go through. And it was really good what I saw. I think I saw it all. Again, I saw it in a couple of sittings. But it was really good. There was one spot, because I am a cyborg brain logic guy that drove me crazy. There was the one spot on the floor where MJF went, screw this, threw his hands up and hopped the railing and started to leave. I'm like, Will, just let him. He doesn't want the title, screw him. Why would you prevent someone from quitting and retaining your title? It doesn't make sense for the challenger to go, yeah, I'm done, I want to leave. So just a small logic thing that drove me crazy, but they worked hard and it was quite good. I'm certainly not slighting their work or the quality of the match. Anyway.
What did you think, Mike?
I thought it was great. One of the things, like Lance said, one of the things I liked was Ospreay was the one who got the table. Because if he got disqualified, I mean, sure, people would be disappointed, but he's the champion. He would still go home with the belt, so I like how they did that. It could have been, I get people out there, it could have been shorter. Yeah, it could have been shorter, but that wasn't the story they were telling. The Clock was the fourth person in the ring, and they wanted to tell this story with them going neck and neck all the way up until the end, and people were stunned when Bryce Remsburg hit 3 and MJF was the champion. And I thought, as far as this day and age goes, that was as close to Flair and Steamboat going 60 minutes as you can get, with Flair as the 2024 Ric Flair and Will Ospreay doing these crazy athletic things for the entire time. I thought it really was great. And I don't know, they're going to obviously have a rematch at some point down the line. I don't know if you want to do MJF and Pac. I don't know if that's the type of match you want to do at Wembley, but you're going to have a stacked card.
MJF and Pac, they're not doing that at Wembley. It's MJF and Ospreay.
Well, do that. Well, and then look, MJF,
Pac will get his shot, I'm sure, between now and then.
Well, but the thing is, you have All In or All Out 2 weeks later. So there's ways you could do it if you wanted to showcase and have Pac, again, have a big match in his home country. You could do that if you wanted to, and then save it for the next pay-per-view only 2 weeks later. So to me, it was I thought it was great, and I thought it was, again, a real surprise and a real treat how what the pacing was throughout the whole thing. I thought it was, both of them I thought were fantastic.
I'll put another $5, Mike, on Will Ospreay MJF at All In.
I think
Wembley.
it's also incredible that MJF could do the hour. not that it, but this dude does not wrestle very often. How many
No.
matches has he had? And he went in there and put in an hour. That's impressive as all get out, I'll tell you.
Well, he's done it with Danielson before. He had that Iron Man match with him that went into overtime. That was really good. But this was, a different type of match and certainly a different type of opponent. I think, one of the things I wish the announcers would have done, though, is because MJF missed so much time with the hip injury, when he did actually go through the table and land, they were so worried about talking about Ospreay that it's like, MJF did damage to himself as well, too, with this, and they didn't call that back, which I was a little surprised about.
I thought the most amazing thing was that the fans were more furious that MJF won with 2 seconds left than if we'd had a draw. And I've had people say, well, they would have cheered for a draw or whatever. It's like, no, they wouldn't have. We had that. What was that match? Was it didn't Bang Bang Gang and FTR go to a draw? I think it was. There have been a couple of draws, and people don't like the draw. They want to finish. And they got to finish with 2 seconds left, but because of who it was winning, they were furious. I was like, wow.
Well, I think this ties in well to my other issue with Dave's review of things. The Mercedes Moné Britt Baker segment, where Dave was talking about, when you know how to execute it, these simple angles work. It's like, no, when you have a over baby face and a heel with heat, simple angles work. And I'm tired of him talking about, baby faces and heels are transitional, and it's like, no, when you have a baby face they love, Will Ospreay, Britt Baker, and a heel the audience despises, MJF, Mercedes Moné, simple stuff works. Everyone wants Will Ospreay to win, everybody wants Britt Baker to win, and it makes simple things work. Transitional heels and baby faces that are just, circumstantial, whatever it works. It's like, yeah, you can get away with it, but it's not ideal and it doesn't work the best.
Well, it's also when people are confused about who's what, you have to do a lot more complicated things to make them understand. Whereas when we already know, okay, who do we hate, who do we like, you don't have to do anything. I mean, literally, Britt was in the audience in a Sting mask. She attacked Mercedes, and Mercedes ran away. That's it. That's all you had to do. And last week, the angle they did was also simple. It's like, put the baby face, have them chase the heel away, don't touch, and that's it. Now they have to keep this up for another, 5 weeks of not touching but still doing angles. And I guess you don't have to do something on every single show, but so far it's like, it's perfect. It's easy. What else do we have on the show? We had TV time with Chris Jericho to set up Minoru Suzuki facing Jericho next week with the Learning Tree banned from ringside. It is an FTW title match. So I wonder if that means we'll get a new member of the Learning Tree, because I don't know if Jericho's going to beat the guy clean, but I guess we shall see.
Yeah, because they did specifically say the two people were banned. So
yes.
A new branch could emerge.
Who's the new branch?
Oh, no.
Dynamite Kid?
No.
I don't think we need a heel that small.
No. Not with Brian Keith already serving in that role.
Who could be the new branch?
Somebody that's already there who they're not using.
People in the chat think it's going to be Sammy.
That actually would make a lot of sense, and it would bring him back. It would be a big deal, be real over the top with it. That would be a really good idea, actually. He's been one of the guys that has really benefited from a relationship with Jericho, in my opinion, on screen. It's still to be told with Bill and certainly with Brian Keith. I know, Brian, you love it, but, things are still to be seen there. But Jericho's best partner throughout the entire time AEW's been in existence has been Sammy, and that would be perfect.
The other thing that, man, oh man, that segment with, I guess it was Mariah coming out as Timeless Tony. Man, these fans, they just gave her the what treatment. This was like her big, after all that time, this was her big promo after turning on Tony Storm. And everyone just chanted, what? And she gave her speech, and there was a brief, we want Tony chant, and then The fans, another half of the fans were like, no, we don't. I was like, man, that was not the reaction I expected for this big first speech after laying out Tony Storm.
How long do you think it took most of the people sitting in the stands to realize it was actually Mariah May?
I think a long time. They did an exceptional job, making her up to look like... and if you're watching at home, they also did the black and white, so it was even better. And then everyone's talking about Tony Schiavone's line, where she's just standing there, not saying anything. And Tony Schiavone, who's like 60-something, he goes, well, speak, B, come on now. Except he actually said the word. And, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but like, this was one of those moments where the other announcers were caught completely off guard. And it was both Taz and Excalibur were like, oh, God, Tony Schiavone. They were appalled. Absolutely appalled. And, like, totally out of character. They were just, like, shocked and couldn't believe their ears.
A little decorum, please.
Yeah, it was like, oh, my God. That was a line. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
We've almost reached the pinnacle of the tour, but this is one of the most important things. This is the computer. This is the workstation where I do the majority of the actual physical part of putting Figure 4 together. I do the writing here, the editing here, of course the phone calls, even the microphone here when we used to do Wrestling Observer Live, which has since died. And in fact, I better put the screensaver on here so this doesn't get burned in the screen. But putting the newsletter together, people understand, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, like 2 to 3 hours per week sometimes I have to spend on it. And, hold on a second. Figure 4, who's this? Carl Thorillo? Yeah. Yeah, hey, listen, can I call you back? I'm doing something here right now. My fridge? Yes, running. Hello? Prank call. Anyway, this is, like I said, computer. Got the TV here. This is pretty much the place. This is going to be a quick tour of the trophy room. This is actually my trophy case. It's made of mahogany, very expensive. But what is worth far more than the case itself is what is inside, and that is the medals from the various sports and the accomplishments that I've achieved during my lifetime. This first drawer here is my gymnastics medals. Here, I got state and such. These are my Taekwondo medals. These down here, amateur wrestling medals. And down here are the 26 medals that I won in the 5-kilometer walk down to the Bothell Landing over the course of the past 5 years. And, I realize that I'm a 4-sport superstar right here, and some people, it might bother them that they haven't had such achievements in their life, but I think that the whole point is that you can achieve anything. If you can make a great pie, you can win the pie eating contest at the Puyallup Fair, and I don't know, hell, if you can eat a good pie, you might win the pie eating contest as well. So there's achievement in this life for everybody.
Lance, I hear it's a special anniversary today. Is that right?
Yes, it's, I guess, 23 years ago today, I won the U.S. title tournament, defeating
Mike Awesome.
Buff Bagwell, Shane Douglas, and Mike Awesome in the finals, yes.
God, what a historian I am. Just remember these things off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, congratulations, Lance, on being a former champion of this country.
That was a busy night. And
Could you speak at the RNC tonight, by the way, as a former U.S. champion?
I don't think so, no. I'll take a hard pass on that one.
Okay.
No, because there's footage out there of him being a traitor and then turning it into the Canadian Heavyweight Championship.
That shouldn't disqualify him. If you want to text us here today, 425-780-7566 is the phone number. We're going to take some text message questions, 425-780-7566. Questions for me, Lance, Mike. You can also email me, f4wonline@gmail.com. And you can also follow me on old X, @Bryan Alvarez. And you can subscribe as well. You can be one of my Twitter followers. I only communicate with my Twitter subscribers. I've given up on the rest of you. No offense. But it's a waste of my time, energy.
No offense.
I mean offense to about 98% of the people that follow me for free on Twitter. I mean no offense to anybody who pays. It sounds horrible. Like, I will only talk to you on Twitter if you pay me. But for those people that are actually paying, it's like, this is totally worth it. Like, we have real conversations and talk to each other and connect and pictures and news. And it's a you got to pay to get into a club, right? Huh? So, yeah, it's just, it's a small fee for civility. That's it. So, anyway.
Trying to think of a takeoff of Club Shay Shay for you, but I can't think of any.
And we had Okada and Swerve champion versus champion, which was exactly what I thought would happen. A nothing match ending when people ran in, and then everybody involved in blood and guts brawls. And that's what happened. This Okada's making his money, brother. He's just making his money.
Easy money.
Yeah.
He's
Speaking
a
of,
smart man.
He's into Monet, too.
Money.
Somebody said on Twitter, it's like they've turned him into Long Duck Dong from those old 80s movies with Molly Ringwald and whatnot, but this is what he wants to do. Remember, this was the guy that lost his mind at one point in New Japan because he was so depressed that he lost the IWGP title, that he was carrying around balloons and had his long trunks on and was out there. So Okada's got a goofy side, and he's getting paid a lot right now to do that and not killing his body. So there you go. Look, and the fans are responding to him. That's also the bottom line of this is AEW fans have not lost anything seemingly when it comes to Okada. They absolutely love every time he's on screen.
Well, I think the question we got to ask is how little is he going to do in Blood and Guts? You know what I mean?
Well, I think more than that, the important thing is, and this is really important, is he willing to, and I believe he will be, willing to pull the trigger and really go when the time comes? Because if he hasn't got a major top program currently, this is good use for him, and save the blow the doors off the place and really shock people when there is an important singles program.
Well, we're going to find out. I got people saying he's going to go all out next week, and I'll bet he doesn't. It's a multi-person match. What's the point? Like, there's I mean, just let Darby go all out. You know he's gonna. So,
I wonder how long it takes before they get to Okada and Hangman. Because remember their interaction last week when Hangman was banging on the door and got in Okada's face. Maybe he doesn't like new friend. And that could be something down the line as well, too, when it's time to either flip Page back or make Okada really go all out with him as a babyface.
I can't believe I'm going to read this text, but this person says, Hogan is only speaking because he heard Trump might run against Kamala.
Let me tell you something, brother. I've faced Kamala before.
Every single one of these text messages has to do with Hogan. Apparently, Hogan will be speaking at the RNC tonight. I wonder if he'll claim he single-handedly ended Desert Storm when he beat Slaughter at WrestleMania 7. People seem to be into this thing.
C-SPAN ratings
watch
through the
TNA
roof.
tonight instead.
Yeah, what's going on with TNA tonight? What's coming up this weekend?
There is a tag team title match. I don't know if we can call them the Hardy Boys. I suppose I can here, but not on our show. The brothers Jeff and Matt Hardy are challenging the System for the tag team titles tonight.
I mean, shouldn't you technically be able to call them the Hardy Brothers because they are the Hardy Brothers?
Yes, I think there's just the issues. You can't use Hardy Boys, especially with a Z, I would imagine.
The Hardy Men.
Or a Z for you American folk.
So then this weekend...
the Z is different in Canada?
It's a Z.
A Z?
Yes.
What?
Like Hardee's, Dudley's,
XYZ is the pronunciation of the letters in Canada.
No, it's not. What are you doing?
It is in Canada.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
And
H, I,
speaking of
J, K,
Canada,
L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z?
Yes.
No.
And in Canada, in Montreal, sold out Slammiversary Saturday, where we've got the six-way world title match. We've got PCO in a title match, Speedball Mike Bailey, I believe. And it's going to be a big show. Slammiversary is sold out, and then we're taping again on Sunday. So if you can't get into Slammiversary, show up on Sunday. Montreal.
If you hit the concession stand, there's milk in a bag.
Depends on what province you're in.
Really? That's a regional thing?
Ontario, you buy milk in a bag, but not in Alberta.
What?
They sell it in bags. You have a plastic jug that you put the bag in and you snip the tip off it. Milk is sold. It is sold in cartons as well, but in Alberta, it's in plastic jugs.
A bladder.
You're trying to sell me on going to Canada for this Slammiversary weekend with that news? I don't even know the proper alphabet.
Well,
are there any other letters that I'm saying wrong as an American?
I don't know, but you have to speak French, too.
Yeah, there's a whole other language in Montreal. I don't think milk is your concern.
Montreal nightlife might be.
I like milk. Who would your dream wrestling match be between? Any era, any wrestler. I would love to see Abe Lincoln versus Nick Gage. Oh, Lincoln would saw that guy to pieces. What do you think, Lance?
Well, if I'm going to pick a dream one, it's going to be me versus someone. I would take a prime Ricky Steamboat as a babyface against me as a heel, and I'd be a very happy man.
Wow. That Ricky Steamboat wasn't too bad.
He was a pretty gosh darn good babyface, let me tell you.
God, that match, we were watching WWF Challenge, and it was, oh God, who was it that he was facing? I mean, he'd been around like forever, dating back to, like the JWA. It was Tiger Chung Lee. They had a Tiger Chung Lee Ricky Steamboat match on Challenge. And, I mean, it was just slightly above the level of being a squash match. But, like, they gave Tiger Chung Lee some stuff. And it was the first match that Ricky Steamboat had since he got hit in the neck with the ring bell, the throat. Which, by the way, still to this day, I'm so absolutely blown away. We went back to watch this, okay, in 2024. And it was the angle that got Vinny into wrestling. It was the first thing he ever saw. That's why Vinny is doing what he does today, was that angle. Everybody remembers this angle. And what does everybody remember about it? That they called it his larynx, right?
Yes.
That's what everybody remembers about
Crushed his larynx, yes.
We went back and we watched every single show from the day they showed it on Challenge for 6 weeks afterwards, recapping it and everything. And during that entire time, every last single person said larynx. Except literally there was like one, it might have been Gene Okerlund, one time on one show said larynx. The entire rest of the time, I was like, did I grow up in like an alternate universe with everybody else? And now we're on some different timeline where that never happened?
You remember the Saturday night main event is my bet. And I'm guessing Vince said larynx on Saturday night main event. And that's the bigger show that everyone remembers. No one remembers Challenge. They remember Saturday night's main event.
It might have been.
They wrote it up in the magazines. I remember it being larynx. I could look, but that's
Well, I don't think they would have written in a magazine. They would have spelled it right, I think.
I don't know, but that was one that I remember as well, too. The whole angle when Bruno Sammartino going after Savage in the locker room, which brought Bruno out of retirement for a little while. They'll put some mustard on the hot dog, and then, Bruno goes after him. That's what he said. Finished him off.
Well, all I know is, anyway, to get to the point, it's Ricky Steamboat's return from the bell against Tiger Chung Lee. And first off, I mean, they locked up, and I could have watched it on a loop for the rest of my life. It was the greatest lockup you've ever seen. And then they're doing this match, and, like, Ricky's running wild. It's all great. And all of a sudden, bam! Tiger Chung Lee with the chop, the knife edge to the throat. And all of a sudden, Savage is like, ugh, and he can't breathe. And he's selling like he's going to die because he got hit, and then like a super kick to the throat. And he's practically dying in the ring. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is a big freaking deal right here. His first match back, he may be killed. And neither announcer, Grill and Bobby, they're busy arguing about Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and the trophy. And they completely, totally ignored that Ricky Steamboat is dying before their eyes. And then, of course, he makes a big comeback and he hits a high cross. Okay? And not only does he hit a high cross off the top rope, that's like the finish is a high cross, but it is the easiest, lightest. He didn't even touch Tiger Chung Lee with this high cross. And I absolutely loved this match. Almost as much as MJF and Ospreay. Pretty good, frankly, but anyway, I don't know what the point was. Oh, yeah, you wanted to wrestle him.
Yes.
Yeah. I would have my match against Tiger Chung Lee. That's who I'd want my match to be against. And I'd be a babyface, even though I hate it. All right, let's see what else we have here. Any other text messages and or news? This person here says, I can't remember the exact podcast you talked about it on recently. I can, it was Sunday. You brought up how you would have a match where you, as a smaller guy, would be hitting suplexes on people, and it felt right in the moment, but then you watched it back and saw how unrealistic it looked. Correct. I would be someone who would be 5'8" in wrestling boots. Always thought if I were to wrestle, I couldn't do any strength spots or suplexes no matter how much I bulked up. But at least nowadays there are plenty of people my height who do those spots and look great doing it. Is 5'8" not considered that small anymore? Or are these guys just that impressive? That's for you, Lance.
Well, 5'8" isn't as small as it used to be, because you go back and watch some of my stuff from the year 2000, and it's like they were considering making me a cruiserweight while listing me at 235 pounds. So but it's I used to enjoy different size opponents so that I could have different kinds of matches. And I think sometimes too, when you're in the locker room with people all the time, you forget how big they are.
Yes.
Like, I'm always amazed every time I would watch a match back with Big Show. I'm going, oh my God, he's gigantic. But when you know him as a friend and spend every day with him in the locker room, you forget how gigantic he is and how ridiculous it would be if it's like, hey, I'll just pick up the Big Show. It's like, no.
I think the thing too is if you are a small, skinny guy and you're just like doing big guy stuff on other big guys, I think it's just like totally phony looking. But if you had like one guy whose gimmick was that he's small, but he's so strong, and he would fight for these big things, I think you could make that work. But, just going in there as a 5'5", 140-pound guy, power moving everybody, I just don't get it. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. This person here said when the Young Bucks were backstage talking about blood and guts, and they announced, quote, their favorite hangman will be on the team, Okada shot them a quick look. I like the build they're setting up between Okada and Hangman whenever that happens. That could be Wembley. That could be Wembley.
I'd be for it.
This person said, Tony's line was hilarious. My girlfriend fell on the floor laughing, and she loves Tony. Absolutely fits with his character, this being Shivani. He's doing that Jim Ross thing where he's old and grumpy now.
There's a lot of Tonys in that company.
There
Got
are.
a weird relationship with all the women he interviews anyway. Remember how Britt used to treat him, for heaven's sakes?
Yeah, but they became great friends.
I know, but then Tony started
Now it's like
to
canon. It's canon that they're great friends. All right. Well, as noted, Lance, you've got a big weekend coming up in Canada. Slammiversary weekend. Let's get one more plug in before we wrap it up here today.
Yeah, Impact is tonight. Access TV in the States, Fight Network in Canada. And yeah, Slammiversary live on pay-per-view, also available through our app and other means that you usually watch. But Slammiversary Saturday is going to be a big night, sold out in Montreal.
It's a main event.
I would imagine it is the six-way world title match. Moose, Steve Macklin, Frankie Kazarian, Joe Hendry, because we believe, Josh Alexander, and I'm missing one. Oh, Nick Nemeth.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, big match.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up, everybody. That is it. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll be back later on tonight with Vinny on all of our different subscriber options, WrestlingObserver.com for newsletters and podcasts and archives, Apple Music if you just want the podcasts, and video. .f4wonline.com if you just want video. So check all those options out, and that's it. We'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.